It came as something of a shock to these people. That's right, the brand new home for Meghan Markle's alleged new podcast, Lemonada. But what seemingly went wrong? As ever, let me explain. Hi, nice to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time out today. Lovely to have your company. It did come as a shock, did it? Or did it not to you? There's, of course, Meghan Markle thought she was going to be returning to the airwaves as the queen, of course, of, well, a podcast. And then suddenly it all went very quiet, didn't it? And we were told that they were beavering away and things, of course, were taking a different turn. It was going to be totally different to that, of course, of Spotify. That was the company that had paid the millions and then decided that they were grifters and not worth the money. In fact, as you recall, the boss of Spotify basically said seemingly they weren't an audio talent, which, as I told you before, I always found fascinating because the original deal would have been for that of Meghan and Harry. You know, that was going to be the podcast. It was never singularly just going to be Meghan Markle. So suddenly, somewhere along the line, they realised that they didn't have the royal cachet that they thought they were going to have. And now we're just stuck with, of course, a former cable TV actress, but moving forward to this brand new deal. Now, as you can imagine, this was sort of not the deal that basically Meghan had thought was going to come through. I was told by an excellent source that she had hoped that Audible might come through in the end, which would have been given, of course, a more as a substantial amount of money and advance. Now, you see, the deal I've been told, and as ever we have to say allegedly, with Lemonada is, as I've told you before, it's about a make it and then royalty return. So, of course, it's a bit like a hit record. If you hit number one, you know you're going to get quite a bit of money. And if you only get the lower echelons of the chart, maybe you could sublicense it and eventually, of course, you'll make some kind of money. It gets interesting because sadly for Meghan, of course, she had hoped that things would turn around, things would be different. And they decided to put out the archetypes so that people who hadn't discovered it the first time around, well, could discover it. People had discovered it and decided they didn't want to rediscover it. That was now the problem. But according to a very well-placed source, the fact that Meghan had decided already to take a hiatus from the show, even before it started, was something of a shock to the bosses of Lemonada. Now, of course, they will deny this and say, no, we were all across it, etc. And the reason given, of course, as ever, is the fact that Meghan is simply too busy with her cookery show. We told you before also that there's our problem, shall we say, getting certain individuals to sign up because, of course, major stars, big A-listers, are going to be incredibly busy over a certain period. Being told that the agency of Meghan themselves are highly embarrassed because this was their big, if you like, first deal. Whether it was a good deal or not remains to be seen. But they had said, you know, they'd get you back into that marketplace. Seemingly as something else bigger, more lucrative that she hopes has come along, she's been dumped or they've been dumped. Now, moving forward, does anybody truly believe in a year's time Meghan will want to return to an industry that so far hasn't treated her particularly well in her eyes? It's an industry that she's totally unknown with, and of course the markets move on incredibly quickly. So many podcasts come and go, so I believe it will be just naturally retired, never to be returned. What Meghan's really hoping for is this, that the cookery show, the lifestyle brand, will take off and she'll have no need to sit down with other people and big them up. Seemingly she believes she's big enough herself. And if this cookery really does bring it to the boil for her, she'll be mega rich too. If I was Lemonada, I would be definitely looking around for fresh talent to sign up for the gap now being left by Meghan Markle. And that's exactly what they're secretly doing. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.